I've covered quite a few Japanese internet mysteries on this channel over the years, and this week I thought we'd take a brief look at some of the more disturbing ones. Ones that, whether they were proven to be true or not, just get under your skin with the implications or just outright revelations of them. So, without further ado, let's head on in and look at 5 of the most disturbing Japanese internet mysteries. Number 1. The creepy supermarket picture. So this one was shared on Twitter on June 13th, 2019, and came with the comment, "This was on display at the supermarket. I can't get it out of my head." It shows a picture that was apparently drawn by a 5-year-old boy of his father. His father has huge eyes, a creepy grin, and red skin. But even more frightening is what you can see in the background. Some hanging rope and a chair on the ground. And underneath all that, an even creepier comment. "Father, thank you for always doing your best at work. Mother, please come back soon." So, taking this at face value, the story this picture tells is that a young kid perhaps saw his mother hanging and is now being looked after by his father. His father with red skin, huge eyes, and creepy grin. Clearly, many things aren't right here. But was there any sort of truth to the picture or even the story in general? Naturally, people immediately questioned the authenticity of this picture. Such a creepy image stuck on a supermarket wall would have immediately drawn attention, if not from staff, then from at least other shoppers who would have also likely shared it online. Yet the person who shared the image was apparently the only person online, ever, who saw the image. That same person claimed that when they went back to the supermarket the next day, the picture was gone. Supposedly, staff had received so many phone calls that they were forced to look into it. Through the image and the original poster's location, people were able to narrow the supermarket down to Yokkaichi City in Mie Prefecture, and several users dug into Mie's public records over the last few years to determine whether it was possible the mother of a young boy really did take her life recently. That lead didn't really go anywhere, but at the same time, nobody could prove that the picture had actually been posted on a supermarket wall to begin with. We just had the original poster's word on that one. And, well, if you want to straight up believe someone on the internet without any evidence, that's entirely up to you. If true, this story was both creepy and terribly sad. But to this day, nobody knows whether it was faked or not. Number 2. This mystery began with a picture and a simple comment. "This stinks. What the hell is it?" The picture showed a blanket on a concrete fence outside at night, and it ended up being the beginning of a mystery that lasted several years. The original poster kept readers updated in real time. Apparently, the futon was incredibly smelly, and also had liquid dripping from it. They shared more blurry photos, and of course, knee-channelers being knee-channelers, they were convinced a dead body had to be inside. Yet the story got even weirder when, after midnight, the OP posted that an old lady approached them when they went out to take another picture, and questioned them for being suspicious. This woman claimed to be from the neighborhood association, but when the OP said they should call the cops about the blanket, she said not to. She would deal with it herself. And then, 20 minutes later, the blanket was gone. End of story, right? Of course not. While OP was still outside, they apparently found the blanket in a different spot. And then they were actually questioned by police about it. When they finally returned, OP told everyone to check the news if they wanted more information, as they couldn't say anything else now. It wasn't until 2 weeks later, that the original poster returned online and informed everyone of what had gone down in the meantime, which included more questioning by police, and even finding that supposed neighborhood association woman in a lineup of photos. It turned out she really was the one behind the blanket incident, and police had found something inside. And although OP never stated what, it wasn't too hard to guess what they were referring to. They had, however, been very close to also being killed, and it was their prudence that night that had saved them. But was this one true? Nobody ever saw anything about it in the news, but nobody knew where it took place either, so that didn't necessarily mean it was fake. This one went quiet for a while, and then, 3 years later, someone started a new thread titled, "The Consequences of Going Outside to See What the Bad Smell Was." This was shared as a fictional account of what happened during the police questioning, and seemed to reveal all the secrets that had been left untold up until that point, including what was in the blanket. However, being 3 years later, of course there was no way to tell one way or the other whether it was actually the original poster, whether the contents of the fictional story were real, or whether the poster claimed it was fictional so they could hide behind that and share information they otherwise wouldn't be able to. In the end, this mystery was also never proven to be fake or real, but the story was so disturbing that people still talk about it today. Number 3. On May 14th, 2007, an anonymous poster started what would become an infamous thread. "I just killed my mother. Why? Why?" she screamed. Think about it. The year is 2007. You're on Knee Channel, infamous for trolls and people looking for attention. If you see a post like this, what would be your first thought? Well, naturally, most people thought it was simply a troll, and so they treated it as such. But the very next day, some news came out that made people question whether what they had seen the night before really was fake or not. A mother in Fukushima Prefecture had been killed by her son. Did the son really post on Knee Channel? Were late-night readers of Knee Channel the first to know of this horrific crime? The thread was posted at 9:02 p.m, and the OP continued posting until around 11:20 p.m. However, the news claimed the mother died around 1:30 a.m, which would have been several hours after the thread was made. The times didn't match. It was also reported that the son in the news left the house after and spent the next 4 hours at an internet cafe watching DVDs. The room he was in had no internet access, meaning he couldn't post to Knee Channel there. All of the evidence pointed to the Knee Channel poster and the son in the news not being the same person, although it was a scary coincidence that someone happened to post that several hours before it actually did happen, even if it wasn't the same person who did it. Number 4. On September 16th, 2008, a Knee Channel user posted a thread that was the start of a very long, very disturbing ride. When I got back from a business trip, there were 5 letters waiting for me in the post. There was no stamp or address on any of them, which means they must have been put in directly. The images of these letters were shared, but they were so incoherent that he couldn't figure out what order they were supposed to be read in. They were addressed to Asamu Sakuto-sama, and they were from a woman calling herself Deda. The letters appeared to be a glance into the terrifying world of a woman who had lost her mind. Although much of the letters didn't make sense, the story they painted was of the woman, Deda, longing for this Asamu Sakuto person, who was, of course, not the OP nor anyone they knew. While trying to decipher the letters, people wondered if maybe she was a patient and Asamu was her doctor, or someone else she met there that she fell for. The OP decided to call the real estate agent and see if maybe the letters were meant for the previous tenant. But although they couldn't get any solid information, they did discover they weren't the first person to receive letters like that. In fact, the person who lived there before him ended up moving out because of it. Apparently, he got letters like this every single day for over a month, and then a woman started hanging around in front of his apartment, constantly ringing the doorbell. This incident was seemingly resolved when that woman's mother showed up and informed the tenant that her daughter was now in the hospital, and the tenant then decided to move. But if OP was now getting the letters, did that mean this woman was out of the hospital and starting all over again? After some more digging, it seemed that Reda lived in Sendai, and after the real estate got in contact with her mother, she checked with her daughter herself to see if she was back to her old letter-sending ways. Reda denied it, but then disappeared. As all of this was happening in real time, Channelers feared that Reda was on her way to OP's house at that very moment, and that seemed to be confirmed when he heard someone scratching at his front door. He called the police, but by the time they arrived, she was gone. They did, however, find another letter, this one simply saying, "I'll be back." OP returned the following day with another update to the developing story. Seemed all of this really was the work of Reda, which was an online handle the woman used to use, and Asamu was the handle of a man she met online. Their relationship was rather toxic and ended with Reda stalking Asamu, before eventually ending up in the hospital. Either way, Reda's mother apologized on her behalf, offered to pay for OP's moving fees, and he agreed it was time to find a new apartment as well. That was the end of that. But was this one true? After all, the only evidence that any of this happened was the letters, and those could be easily faked. Eagle-eyed readers also noted that the opening and closing characters of the letters spelled something interesting. "Kore wa suri da." This is all fake. Was that also a weird coincidence, or had Channel once again been taken for a wild ride? Well, that's up to you to decide. Number 5. On August 2nd, 2017, a strange post appeared on Channel. For certain reasons, I have 50 kilograms of meat that I don't know what to do with. I'm not a big eater, so I'd like to get rid of it quickly. A bit weird, but easily not the strangest thing ever asked on Channel before. And it didn't take long before the reply started rolling in. Put it in a drum and dump it in the ocean. Cook it for the police. Salt it to keep it for longer. But the thread turned darker when the OP explained they weren't looking to keep the meat. They really wanted to get rid of it, but without other people knowing about it. One reply joked they should dispose of the meat in the trash, like the Inokashira Park incident, to which the OP then replied, "Can an amateur take apart a body? I've already drained the blood." Oh, that's not... But those in the thread didn't take the OP seriously, of course. Someone even suggested to hide it in kitty litter, but the OP was intrigued by the idea of dissolving it, and seemed to settle on that. "Then I'll probably bury the difficult parts in the mountains. You can let this thread die now." And so it did. But on October 31st that same year, people were suddenly reminded of the weird Ni-channel thread where someone asked how to dispose of meat without others finding out when a man by the name of Shiraishi Takahiro in Zama City, Kanagawa Prefecture, was arrested for hiding 9 bodies in various freezers and containers in his house. Reportedly, his MO was to hit up Twitter looking for people who wanted to die, and then he would help them. It was the efforts of the brother of his final victim that finally brought him to justice. But was this the same person who posted on Ni-channel? After all, there was one weird part of this case that caught everyone's attention. Shiraishi had apparently hidden several bodies in kitty litter, just like one of the joke replies in the thread. This made Ni-channelers go digging, and they found a post a month before the original one asking how to get rid of a dead body. Again, most of the replies were people joking, but one suggested that it would be easier to get away with it if the deaths were ruled as self-inflicted. Considering Shiraishi's MO of hitting up social media to find people who wanted to die, suddenly a lot of coincidences were coming together. And by the time the second thread went up, Shiraishi had already killed 3 people. One of the replies in that thread said, "I already did that the first 3 times." Being that Ni-channel is anonymous, there's no way to tell whether that original poster was actually Shiraishi or not. But the timing of it, and the strange number of facts that line up exactly, is almost too much to overlook. This may have been one of the rare cases where what was posted was actually true. But in the end, there is no way to determine that one way or the other. Like all these other mysteries, you'll have to decide for yourself whether you believe them or not. But what did you guys think of this one? Let me know in the comments below, and if you'd like to help support this channel so you can see more content like this, please consider hitting that join button down below as well. Every bit of support really helps. Thanks guys, and I'll see you again next time.